Happy Friday, guys. Welcome to the Kacee Allen Show. I'm your host, Kacee Allen. Glad to be back with you guys today. We're going to be talking about day 7 of the U.S. Israel-Iran War and how this continuously looks worse. It looks really, really bad at this point. And after everything we talked about the last couple of days with the strikes going back and forth, with leaders like Trump and Rubio and Hegseth all having different messages about why the U.S. is going to war with Iran, and to this day, they still have yet to come up with a convincing and persuasive message that gets all the American people on board, because it obviously is just the same as it was in Iraq in 2003. It's the same neocon playbook. Literally, someone from the George Bush administration met at the White House today. So that's pretty much the deal. But what's actually really interesting is we're going to talk about today is really how the Trump administration has capitulated, because they really said that we're going to have no new wars, in 2024, and now they've even okayed boots on the ground in Iran. So this is very troubling, and like I said, everyone who voted for Trump probably should feel, at least a little disappointed at the very least that this is happening. I don't think any American, I would hope that the majority of Americans do not support more dead U.S. soldiers. But like we saw yesterday with the brave patriot, U.S. Marine Brian McGinnis, who's a Senate candidate, and stood up and actually voiced his opinion and said that Americans should not be dying for Israel. And if you look at the video, like we talked about yesterday, he wasn't even coming off very aggressive. It was just simply stating, look, I don't think Americans should die for Israel. And then within seconds of him saying that, he gets dragged out of there and they're like, go, go, go. And it takes 6 people, including a Republican senator, the Republicans who are supposedly about free speech, except if it's about Israel, for heaven's sake. So after seeing that, the public display, the Trump administration just, again, having no message, no plan. They've even said that Iran's leader the next leader after taking out al-Khomeini, they'll take them out as well if they decide to appoint them, or their own leader of their own volition. But the problem is the U.S. has no plan. They haven't said that they're going to install their own leader. They said that it could be like Venezuela. But again, Venezuela and Iran are completely different countries and different scenarios by a long shot. And, I think Trump actually has this confidence because, just after Venezuela, after the whole thing with, he didn't do mass deportations, but they at least appeared with ICE that they were going strong on foreign and domestic policy. So in Trump's eyes, he thinks that, war, conflict, these things are actually helping him and going to make him look more tough. And I honestly believe that he believes that. I think he, just like in the first term, has absolutely horrid advisors and people that do want this war. Look at Pete Hegseth, look at Marco Rubio, look at Pam Bondi, look at the FBI, look at the CIA, look at Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, look at Trump's donors, Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer. A lot of these people are also in the Epstein client list and all over the files, including Trump himself. So we're going to go through everything we know about day 7. We haven't had any intel, luckily, any intel about any further American casualties. We've at least known that there is 8 of them, unfortunately, which I think is enough to condemn what the Trump administration is doing. So anyway, day 7, what we know is that the war entered what Israel calls a new phase and focused on underground missile sites, command bunkers, and regime infrastructure, while Iran continued missile drone retaliation across the region. Now, that was everything we talked about yesterday, if you guys remember. I think it was a total of like 2,000 strikes between U.S. and Israel. And the United States has probably spent, I think, $5 billion. There's I think somebody on X has an actual counter that's following this in real time. So I'd encourage you guys to check that one out. But anyway, so at 6:30 this morning, we found out that heavy Israeli airstrikes pounded Tehran and other Iranian cities. This included Shiraz, Qom, Isfahan. Isfahan's actually one of the places where they had or could supposedly still have their nuclear sites where they're enriching uranium. And then so we also know that residents and journalists described the worst night so far. This was talking about the day prior. So this would have been Thursday night. That would have been, I believe, the 5th of March. Today's the 6th. So this is explosions. They're saying every couple hours happen. Shock waves, thick smoke, fires near the Mehrabad airport, and strikes on military sites, residential areas, car parks, petrol stations. And this is also a strike near university in Tehran called on Pastor Street. An elementary school was also hit. And I know we talked about this yesterday. The absolute atrocity with the school that was hit, that I think we killed like 175 Iranian children. But the worst part is we were led to believe this was due to Israel strikes. It was actually American strikes. That's what we found out today. It's absolutely atrocious that this happened. And you have the Trump administration that's going to somehow try to defend this. You have Caroline Levitt, of course, saying this is the peace president. This is peace through strength. And you have Melania Trump at the UN even trying to justify, and somehow use this moral code of ethics that they can somehow make this to where it's in America's interest and this is totally okay. So, and obviously it's not. This is completely against the American interest. This is against what the American people voted for, especially the majority of people voted for, Trump supporters, people that wanted no new wars, people that did not want to, bomb Iran, pick up with the George Bush neocon policy. And excuse me, I've said this plenty of times. It's not just Republicans here. I'm equally critical of both sides. I mean, look at what Barack Obama did with Syria. Bashar al-Assad, he basically led to what would be the ousting of Assad, and this was during the Biden administration. So there you go, end of Biden's tenure when they ousted him. But yeah, like Obama in 2013, he came up with these excuses that Assad was trying to use chemicals on his own people and accuse him of genocide. The same type of things we hear about. We heard about Iraq. We hear about Iran. It's they chant death to America. They've got nuclear weapons, weapons of mass destruction. It's the same playbook. And so yeah, that was Obama. We have Bush with Iraq. You have Biden with the Afghanistan pullout that was atrocious. And then you have Trump, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, which how can you possibly say that after that's led to more peace in the Middle East? Because 3 years after that, October 7th happened, which we talked about that one at length. There's a lot more into that one that meets the eye. But you look at what happened after Trump did that. He moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. We didn't see any peace out of that at all. I mean, Trump likes to give himself the pat on the back and say this is the case, but no, that's not the case at all. Especially today, if this led to peace, if this is such a great decision, then why did October 7th happen? And then also, why are we at war with Iran today? Why are we continuously fighting for a foreign country's enemies that are no threat to the United States? And you know what? The longer that we fight for this other country and against their enemies, well, you know whose enemy that makes ours eventually. I mean, so we have cultivated this adversary with Iran. And this has only been at the benefit of Israel. There is clearly no benefit for America to be going to war in the Middle East. The only benefit there is for America to even be over there or have any involvement with the Middle East is for the oil, is for the Persian Gulf. But in no way, shape, or form does that mean that we have to actually go to war with these people. We have to, send trillions of dollars and thousands of troops to get killed, all for the enrichment of the military-industrial complex and the people that are really running the country. And that's not what anyone voted for. I don't think anyone on either side of the aisle or any American truly in their heart believes in that. The corrupt ones obviously do. The elite, as we call them, the few that are really pulling the puppet strings, but the average American does not want wars. I don't think that's the case, even though they're duped into doing so, especially Republicans right now with the Trump administration, fooling people like Kat Turd and Gunther Eagleman and, the sycophants that are just rolling out the typical Trump script and we're in the Trump knee pads. It's the same thing. And again, I've left this camp a long time ago, or it feels like a long time ago. I got critical in November of 2024 with Trump's cabinet picks, and then I literally called for his impeachment last summer during the first time he bombed Iran. So, yeah, I have been very consistent with my talking points. I voted for Trump for the very things that I stand for today: no more wars, America first, decouple from Israel, decouple from the Middle East. You can find many of my posts saying this. I've been very consistent. And, now it's like this has become a blatant issue, and I feel obligated to speak out about it, especially when we saw Marco Rubio literally say the real reason that we're in this war is because we feared that if a foreign country attacked first, then it would put our troops at risk and possibly, it would literally face attacks, or we would face attacks for not even doing anything because of our parasitic relationship with a certain country. And that's what it stems down to. So back to what we know about yesterday, there was a 14th and 15th wave launched on Iran. This is what they call it, on Israel's behalf. This destroyed 6 Iranian missile launchers, and we also know that U.S. B-2 bombers dropped penetrator bombs on deeply buried ballistic missile sites, and U.S. forces also struck an Iranian drone carrier at sea, now on fire, as part of efforts to sink as much of Iran's navy, which they've literally said this. I've heard Scott Bessent say this. I've heard Rubio say this. Even Colby Elbridge today, they've literally said that the objective is to completely destroy not only their nuclear program, but it's their navy and their army. It's not going to be easy. Now, they claim 43 ships were damaged and possibly destroyed. And overnight, strikes hit Beirut's southern suburbs, and Hezbollah targeted Lebanon command centers in retaliation. And then Israel issued mass evacuation orders from South Lebanon and the Beirut suburb, the suburbs of Beirut, where the Jewish people were staying. They claim this affected 1 million people, and Iran fired missiles and drones toward Israel. This is where, if you guys saw a video last night, it went pretty viral. You would see Tel Aviv with all lit up, sirens everywhere. I believe it was like the central or southern Israel, and also in the West Bank. We also saw that Gulf states hosting U.S. bases had the same thing going on. There was also interceptions, I believe, in Lebanon. So it's also been said that 300,000 have been displaced in Lebanon after this evacuation order, and another 120 killed. So, we do have more numbers on that. This is out of the UN official Gutierrez Turk, who warned of this spiraling humanitarian crisis and called for immediate ceasefire and negotiations. So that's what we know about today. And I think the biggest thing that I saw before I hopped on stream is that it's so weird to see the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, be the one to say that this weekend, Trump is going to be launching strikes on Iran, and harder than we've ever seen. So I think that's the biggest takeaway of what we're going to see this weekend. Just like we saw a week ago when Trump first launched these strikes, it was literally a week ago today when the first strike happened. He got the approval on last Thursday. And it's likely, with the economy taking a big hit and oil prices skyrocketing, that he's going to try to do this in the weekend when the markets are shut down. So my prediction is watch for strikes in the near future, probably tonight or tomorrow, maybe Sunday. Again, we do not wish for this conflict to go on. I don't, as a Christian, as an America First patriot, as American, I do not wish this on anyone. So that's the problem. We need to make sure that we're vocal about this. We're speaking out. Our vote can only do so much, but I think really just challenging these people in debates, and especially online, is really making a bigger difference than you can imagine. Because for the longest time, we talked about this before, legacy media really controlled these conversations, and it was nearly unthinkable for just regular civilians and citizen journalists to tap into something like this. So that's a major shift in everything. That's where you're seeing Dan Crenshaw get beat in Congress the other day. It's like, he's getting absolutely grilled on social media the past 2 to 3 years. Like nothing in his comment section is just like literally making fun of this guy for having an eye patch. And keep in mind, he like is a former veteran, but that's just how much of a disgraced congressman he is. And of course, he gets steamrolled in this last election. So yeah, I think we're going to see a big change. We're going to see obviously Republicans get destroyed in the midterms, but I think we're going to see a lot of real populist people get in positions of power. So that's my take on this. I think that a major shift is happening, and the American people are definitely waking up. And I mean, if you guys have seen some of my posts the last couple of days, it's definitely reaching the masses. And because I've been talking about this for a while. I mean, I've been predicting that we would go to war with Iran in 2023. You can go back to some of my early shows. I've been talking about this for quite a while because I had a major feeling that whether it was the end of Biden's term or especially if Trump got elected, that this could happen. And yeah, here we are. It's just as bad, if not as worse as I could possibly imagine it to be. And like I said, this is a forever war in the making. It's going to take a long time for this to end if it ever does. I mean, I'll probably have gray hair by the time this is over with. And then, yeah, like I said, we talked about earlier in the show, one of the bigger stories of earlier today is that they claim, it's all over Fox News, it's all over the MAGA shill accounts, but it's been reported that an Islamic regime paid a 47-year-old Pakistani to assassinate Trump in 2024. Now, some people have said he's Iranian. They've said he's Pakistani. It's hard telling, but we just know he's some sort of Middle Eastern guy from the picture. But they claim that this guy literally said that Iran wants revenge for the killing of their top leader, Soleimani, who Trump took out in his first term. Here's Fox News coverage on this. And again, I think this is a complete false flag just like with Iraq. They're just trying to get us to fall for this propaganda to get us to get into another war. And it really makes me question the real motive behind what happened in Butler, whether that was actually authentic or not. Especially question that now.
Not a lot of viewers knew about when it happened in 2024 because President Trump was out on the campaign trail and there was so much.
This absolute ridiculous scenario here. We get this video a little backed out there. There we go.
Much going on in so
trial of a Pakistani man. Prosecutors accuse him of plotting to assassinate American political leaders, including President Trump. He says Iran was behind it all. Alexis McAdams is outside the Brooklyn Federal Courthouse in New York City. Alexis.
Hi, Harris. Yeah, an interesting case that really not a lot of viewers knew about when it happened in 2024 because President Trump was out on the campaign trail and there was so much going on and so many other threats. But that's when police say a Steve Merchant came here from Pakistan because he says Iranian leadership told him to, said hunt down President Trump, hire a couple of guys that can take him out at a political rally. So take a look here on your screen. This is who we're talking about. He's sitting there inside of that Brooklyn Federal Courthouse right now as those closing arguments are underway. 47 years old. He's facing federal terrorism charges and could spend the rest of his life behind bars. Merchant testified, Harris, in his own federal trial, and he explained this, making this drawing again that he said Iranian leaders gave him back in 2024. Really doesn't look like there's much to it. It looks like, like a kid drew it or something, but that's the sketch of a rally site. Merchant was arrested just one day before Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, and later told the feds that he believed Iran was behind that attack because it was so similar to the plan that they gave him. Kind of get up in an elevated place, go to a rally, and create all this chaos so the gunman can get away. Merchant says Iran wants revenge for the killing of their top military leader, Qasem Soleimani. And threats continue as the U.S. just bombed Iran and took out its Ayatollah. So we're expecting even more threats here, possibly on the homeland, according to the feds. Back out here live in Brooklyn, prosecutors say the evidence, Harris, is pretty damning in this case. They say he actually paid two FBI agents thousands of dollars in cash, telling them to take out President Trump because he thought they were hitmen, and then also a lot of other things, including writing the entire thing down on a hotel napkin. So,
yeah, that just sounds like a total load of horse crap. You're trying to tell me that right now, out of all times, that they figure out that this guy, who right when we're about to go to war with Iran, happens to be some Middle Eastern guy that's an adversary to Israel, and literally is allied with Iran in vengeance of an Iranian supreme leader taken out by Trump in his first term. That's literally the same thing as what we saw with Iraq, with 9/11, with weapons of mass destruction. People aren't buying the official narrative like it was before. Now they have to come up with something creative and cook up some, crazy story like this. So yeah, I'm not buying it. I think the odds of this being true is extremely slim. I mean, think about the coincidence there. I'd love to see what Grok would say is the odds of something like this happening, where you would say that during the time when we're about to go to war with Iran, we're in the war with Iran 7 days in, about to put boots in the ground. I mean, it's literally insane to say that, when this is happening, when you were about to be assassinated 2 years ago, they just now find someone and make an arrest. And of course, Fox News is covering this right away. So that's my take on this. I could be wrong, but this is my gut, and I'm going to follow that. I think I've been right about a lot of this so far, and I think this is definitely trying to be used to wield more influence to get the people in line with the warmonger agenda, especially the youth, because it's not working, and I don't think this will either. But it shows they're really desperate here. So that's everything we know about the Iran-Iraq U.S. war, day 7. Like I said, we're expecting things to get even worse and more tense this weekend. We'll be covering this in real time on X and Threads. Make sure to follow us on that at KCR Allen. And with that being said, we're going to get to our next story. A little bit different here, but it's worth talking about. Kristi Noem, the former head of the Department of Homeland Security, has been let go. And it's not that she's been technically let go; she's been promoted or demoted to this new organization of this, I believe it was like some peace board, or I don't know. It was some sort of cabinet position, but way, way less of of importance of being head of the Department of Homeland Security, which is massive. I mean, I think we know for a lot of reasons why this could have been the case. First of all, Barbie Secretary Noem was nothing but a prop. I don't think she would have been someone that was right for the job in the first place. I certainly wouldn't have picked her back in 2024. I thought it was a completely questionable pick, especially after, the whole controversy with her shooting her dog. It's like, and here's the funny thing about someone like Kristi Noem. What does she know about the southern border? She was the governor of the most northern state in America. And then on top of that, she was allegedly, again, she didn't deny this in a Senate hearing or whatever hearing it was, that she's having an affair with Corey Lewandowski, who also went with her. They both left. They both departed from their positions at the same time. So I don't think any of that's a coincidence. But again, could be wrong. It's all allegedly. But yeah, but here's a replacement, though. Not like he's any better. I mean, it is a guy this time at least, but it's Mark Wayne Mullen. He's a Republican U.S. Senator from Oklahoma. But get this. He took $410,000 from AIPAC. He also opposed the Iran nuclear deal, rejected for a ceasefire in Gaza, and backed the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act that literally is going to take away the free speech of Americans who criticize a foreign country. So, yeah, it really shows you, even with Kristi Noem, and this guy who's going to take her position, the whole deal with DHS, they're honestly more focused on people criticizing Israel coming into the country on social media than they are with mass deportations. And that's one of my biggest criticisms of the Trump administration, on top of their blatant infiltration of the foreign policy. It's that they have not carried out mass deportations, and that was the number one thing they campaigned on. You can't make that one up. They literally everyone had signs holding it up at Trump rallies. And they've deported less than 400,000, and we're month 14 into this Trump administration, and we're not seeing results. And again, maybe that's also part of the reason why she's out. I think a lot of it was also back to criticism of not having the mass deportations, which everyone voted for. Again, what does Trump follow through on his policy or any of his policies that he campaigned on? Hard to find any. And, so again, this is going to be hardly any changes. We're approaching midterms. We're not going to get mass deportations. That's out of the question. If they were going to do that, if they were ever serious about that, they would have done it months ago, if not the first year of the Trump administration. But here we are. He's got less deportations than Obama and Biden, if you ratio it compared to their first 2 terms. Really, if you just do the math in general, yeah, it's very low. So yeah, not looking good. Again, not a major story, but it's definitely worth talking about because it's really shown that the Trump administration knows that they're facing a lot of scrutiny. And I'm surprised if someone were to ask me, like, let's just say like a week ago, if Trump were to fire someone from his cabinet, who would it have been? I would have said Howard Lutnick because the dude's all over the Epstein files and he knowingly lied about that. And how is he even still in the government is beyond me. But yeah, he would have been the person I would have said. But Christine Ohm, yeah, that's a surprise. So that would have been her before him. But that's the Trump administration for you. So we're going to get into our last story here, which is not exactly relevant to news, but it went pretty viral. One of my posts on X, which I didn't really intend on, getting very big, but it unfortunately did. And I say unfortunately just as a joke because it's just funny how consequential this post was. Basically, if you guys have ever heard of Kevin Youkilis, he's a former Major League Baseball player for the Boston Red Sox. I think he's a 2-time World Series champ. He won with the Red Sox in 04. No, those are the guys who don't really care about sports, whatever, just the lore. But basically, he's playing for something called the World Baseball Classic. And what it is all countries every 4 years will have all players from across the world team up with their origin country or like where they were born, and they'll play for their country against countries. So, like, for instance, you'll see the best players in Mexico play against the best players in America. And you'll even see some Americans, in a lot of cases, the Cuban baseball players, there's a lot of Cuban baseball players, Mexican baseball players. They'll go and play for like the Cuban team or the Venezuelan team, or they'll play for the Team Mexico, which, again, understandable. Don't exactly support them playing for another country. I think that's kind of hypocritical of your allegiance to being American, but not as important as Kevin Youkilis, who was born in Cincinnati, has never lived in Israel or a foreign country besides the only country he's lived in is America. He's an American, but yet he is coaching for Team Israel right now. So yeah, Kevin Youkilis is coaching for Team Israel. And people give me a lot of crap on this post, which I'm about to pull up in a second. They say, well, he didn't get selected for America. So, okay, well, if he didn't get selected for an American team, it doesn't mean he should go to a country that, first of all, he's never even lived in, but it's only tied to his belief. It's not even hardly heritage. I think he says he has some Jewishness in him, but he's primarily, he's Greek. He's a mixture of things, but that's the thing. It's very interesting how these people don't see the contradiction here. Again, something like baseball, like I said, you guys might think this is corny, it's stupid, it's a waste of time, but I think it's very revealing here with what someone like Kevin Youkilis said, and especially how he actually responded to me here after I called this guy out. So let's try to find it if I can. This is a very interesting post. Again, I didn't expect this to blow up at all. I think it's probably at 1 million views right now, if I can find it. Let's see here. Let's pull it up. Get the X screen here. By the way, make sure to follow us on all platforms. That's at Kacee Allen Show. You can see right below. And here we go. So this post is at 972,000 views. That's hilarious. So, like I said, Kevin Youkilis, former MLB All-Star, decided to coach for Team Israel over Team USA in this year's WBC, even though he's born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and has never lived in Israel. And I said this is a perfect example where you know what kind of people, where their loyalty really lies, because it's certainly not with America. And then he ends up subtweeting me, if I can end up finding that. And he says, let's see here. Yeah. Well, it's somewhere in here, but yeah, he ends up subtweeting me and saying like a very telling. This is like a kind of a dumb thing to say because he was like, "Oh, I'm proud of this." Like I'm proud. Like, dude, let me find it here. So I think it's probably one of his last posts. 'Cause I saw this right before we started the show. No way. There it is. 10 hours ago. So Kevin Euclid. I think I'm still ratioing him by just a little bit, but he's probably gotten his them boys, his buddies, to artificially boost us. Yeah, so he responds to me and says, "Proud to be an American, proud to be Jewish, and proud to be coaching for the Israel baseball team. Yalla, hashtag it's just baseball." Kevin, it's more than just baseball. I understand this particular conversation to you is about baseball, but I wouldn't be having any interest in discussing about anything about baseball anymore if it didn't pertain to this issue that it's not only a problem in America, but it's a global issue. And again, those of you guys that know, I'm a former baseball player, played in high school, had one college offer, and did not take it. But yeah, my time in commentary and baseball career and really sports career has been over for quite a while. And it's just interesting that in 2026, years after my baseball career ends, this is how I get back into the conversation. So very funny. But let's see the comment section here. Let's see how this was perceived. Yeah, so someone said America, Israel, and Greece all claim uke without certain. There is more than enough uke to go around. Blah blah blah. Just a bunch of goy slop. And somebody says it's just baseball. I saw that. Yeah, and they just put a picture of Israel leveling out Gaza. Blah blah blah. You know, Israel doesn't speak for all American Jews, right? Of course. Typical obfuscation. That's funny. Israel first clown. Go live in Israel. Yeah, so I don't know. It definitely didn't seem to be, and this is on his account too. It didn't seem to be perceived very well. He's got some of his fans, as you think he would, as a baseball Hall of Famer. Keep in mind, I'm just an independent journalist who does not work for any corporate media or have any corporate backing or funding. And this guy, again, credit where credit's due, hell of a baseball player, and he's not Hall of Famer, but excellent hitter, good third baseman. I mean, I won't. Your credit where credit's due. I remember watching him play, so we'll never criticize this guy for being a bad baseball player. I'm just saying, dude, look, it's pretty clear where your loyalty lies, especially a time like now. It's like you realize what you're doing. Like you're getting yourself into this as a political statement to make Israel, basically it's PR for Israel. And, he definitely took the $7,000 because he's being paid to be a coach, or I would think he's being paid to be a coach. Let's fact check that first. But yeah, you talk about the money trail for $7,000. Let's check that out real quick. Let's see what Grok says. Let's see, how much does Kevin Euclid make for coaching the Israel baseball team? Wonder if he has to register as a foreign agent. Would think so. I would hope so. Okay, so Brad Osmus, he's a former catcher. I guess he's their manager, another sellout. He's an MLB bench coach here, and that's irrelevant. He makes $200K. Well, I don't think they're coaching year round, but it's saying 35K to 80,000 a year. So let's do the math. So 35,000 to 80,000 a year. Let's see. Average of 60. Let's see. Try to do the math here. Hold on. Hold on. I just totally lost track of the number. Okay. Okay, so we got 60,000 on average divided by 12. Okay, so you're talking. That's funny. So I guess depending on how long this goes, if he's coaching for a month, that's $5,000. So yeah, that is someone who did take the 5K or the 7K, likely. No exaggeration. So yeah, that's just a very goofy story. Again, not anything I planned on dealing with on my Saturday night or Friday night. Never thought I would ever interact with Kevin Youkilis, let alone post about him. But this was something I saw and I felt inclined to talk about. I was like the only one that did. And I'm sure you guys saw my viral post the other day when I exposed the Trump administration, how the first time around, likely this time, they were compromised by the Kushners and the Chabad Lupovichers, excuse me. And even Tucker Carlson exposed this himself. I've been talking about this because it really does show, and even FBI files, like I said yesterday in my viral post, that, yeah, Trump, according to them, was compromised by Israel and the Kushners, and they were effectively running the entire show and all of Trump's businesses, which is a major problem. And I'm sure you guys know that, or don't know that, Jared Kushner, who's Trump's son-in-law, his father, Charles Kushner, is the U.S. ambassador to Monaco and France right now. And Charles Kushner is a former Jewish fraudster who went to prison for like 2 years for dealing with, it was some shady scheme. And that's the guy that when Trump's daughter came home with this Jared Kushner guy, and they introduced, Kushner's dad to Trump, he was approved of this. He approved of this and accepted this, and even went to Rabbi Schneerson's grave during like a month before he got elected with Shapiro and Howard Lutnick. Like, I don't know. There are some conspiracies that Trump did convert to Chabad Lubavitch in 2016. I've heard a lot of people say that, and I think it could be true. Again, I've not seen any direct evidence, but I don't know. Maybe there is some validity to the claim of Mark Levin saying that Trump is their first Jewish president. Like, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't lying there. Maybe that was the truth. But it's hard telling. We don't really know what's going to happen. All we know is that Trump is counting on more conflict in Iran, and the strikes are going to get worse. So stay tuned. We're going to be giving live updates on X and Threads at KCR Allen. Make sure to follow us on there. And most importantly, make sure to follow us on The Kacee Allen Show. Subscribe on YouTube at Kacee Allen Show. And we also have the fully uncensored show on Rumble. That's rumble.com/Kacee Allen Show. And our show is on X. You can find all of our clips, all of our links, and our exclusive community, The Kacee Allen Show HQ, on Twitter. That's x.com or twitter.com, however you guys refer to it, /Kacee Allen Show. And if you want to be part of our exclusive community, keep us going and independent, that's the Kacee Allen Show.locals.com. Feel free to donate whatever amount you'd like to, and make sure to follow us on all their platforms for short clips and everything else we have in store for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys either this weekend or most certainly on Monday. Stay tuned on our other platforms, and we'll update you guys because we're likely to see mayhem break out in Iran. And if it's that bad, we're going to cover this weekend, possibly again later tonight or even tomorrow. So stay tuned. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.